Generative AI brings us all sorts of opportunities for innovation, but we also need to consider the risks and challenges that come with it. So what are those risks and challenges? Well, veracity is one. We need to understand the outputs that are coming out. We've heard of hallucinations coming out of models. Well, that's a form of veracity. Really, it's where we don't have, or we can verify that there are false responses coming out of the models. Toxicity and safety is another. We need to be careful that the models aren't producing things like hate or threats or something insulting or demeaning. There could be bias in there that's effectively causing something that could insult individuals or an entire portion of society. So we need to make sure that the outputs from models really don't include information that has negative connotations to individuals or society. Intellectual property is another concern. We need to make sure that the models aren't producing or infringing on copyright. Could the training set include copyright information that you don't have permission for that could be reproduced in an output? And data privacy is key. We must make sure that we continue to focus on data privacy, that we understand what data sets are used for training, and make sure that we don't have data leakage of information that we just don't want to be released. So areas that you can look, the OWASP Top 10 for large language models is a really good area to give you information on the threats and concerns and challenges that you need to look at. And MITRE Atlas, a version of the attack framework that's been made specifically to cover the AI landscape. What you shouldn't do is put any form of outright ban on GenAI in place. If you do that, then your organization will find a way around it. They'll do it anyway, and you'll end up with shadow IT, and technically you'll increase the risk. So put in place some guiding guardrails in the form of policies that empower, enable, and inform to allow individuals to make the right decisions. Review your existing policies, particularly your data policies, and make sure that they fit and are robust enough for this context. Threat model your generative AI applications. Make sure you understand the threats, you understand the risks, and you understand the controls that you need to put in place in the context of the solutions you're developing. And most importantly, treat the models as software. They are software, they're code. So make sure that you treat them as part of your software supply chain and apply the security that you would to any other piece of software that you deploy. To aid you with this, we generated a GenAI security scoping matrix as a form of meta model that will help you classify your GenAI use cases. It's there to help you understand the security considerations against each of these scopes of use cases, and also to some degree help you understand the shared responsibility in this context. So the shared responsibility model is still in place. Now, as the consumer, you need to understand your responsibilities. You need to understand the responsibilities of the cloud service provider. And where you're using third-party models, then you need to understand the responsibilities of the models provider. A good place to look for guidance and assistance is the National Cybersecurity Centre's guidelines for secure AI systems development, which really helps you, again, guide and make the right decisions. But most importantly of all, innovate responsibly with generative AI. Responsible AI, for first point really, you need to look at your suppliers to ensure that they're taking a responsible approach. AWS is committed to developing AI in a responsible way. It's absolutely integral to our approach. And again, this is where the shared responsibility model comes in. Make sure that your suppliers are innovating responsibly. And make sure that you consider the aspects of responsible AI. Understand the controllability of what you're deploying, the fact that you can monitor it, and the fact that you can control input and output. The privacy and security, particularly data privacy and data security. What's being used in the training set? What reference information do you have in place? How are you consuming it? What's being output? Safety. We don't want anything harmful going out there, and fairness comes into that picture as well. We don't want bias bleeding into the outputs that we put out. You don't want to alienate part of your customer base, for example. Veracity and robustness are also key. You need to understand what the outputs are of the model, what can be trusted and what can't. So you need a robust mechanism around input and output filtering to make sure that you're really doing things within the bounds that you expect to. And again, explainability and transparency come into this. You need to be able to have explainable outputs from the models. And from a transparency point of view, if you're using third-party models, you need to understand what they were trained on, what sort of bias they may have, so that you can make informed decisions. And of course, governance. Make sure that the governance is in place across the whole process lifecycle. But I think most importantly, take a people-centered approach to what you're doing. Focus on the people, the process, the culture. Educate, enable, make sure that your stakeholder organization is fully engaged, and take a holistic approach. Ultimately, build in security and privacy from day one.